Yeah, now recording is on. Okay, so this is the course content which we are gonna discuss. So now let me show you the lab topology which I will use in my class. Okay, so I will use eVengi software for doing all kind of Palo Alto labs. Okay, and this kind of topology I will use where I will put one Palo Alto firewall, and I'll connect management interface of Palo Alto firewall with one of my VMnet adapter. So I'll get the access of my Palo Alto firewall, and I will connect Ethernet 1/1 interface of Palo Alto firewall with my home Wi-Fi. So I will get the internet through this interface, and I'll use this kind of IP address like 192.168.0.250 into my outside interface. Then I'll also have an inside interface where I will use 10.1.250 series IP address. And here I will put one Linux machine for testing and one Windows PC for testing. I will also have one more interface which is DMZ interface where I am having two servers. These are the Linux servers. On these servers, I will run SSH, HTTP, FTP, these particular services. And after that, we will see how we can restrict the access of these server from inside to DMZ, or if DMZ wants to communicate with these, we will see all these things. And after end of the day, we will also see how we can restrict the access of the DMZ from the outside. So we will do the source net, we will do the destination net, we will write the rules, all these things we will see, and how we can basically control all these things. So this is the laptop which I'm gonna use. And also my laptop will change when I will configure HA. In HA, my laptop will completely changed. And also when I will show you some other practicals like layer 2 deployment, or basically tap mode deployment or virtual wire deployment, at that time also my lap topology will change. So that thing we will discuss when I will basically start, when I will start your actual classes. Okay. So guys, let's discuss the next generation firewall versus legacy firewall. So basically, if you know that term, basically legacy firewall and next generation firewall. So I will just create a two column here. Legacy firewall can only protect the traffic till layer 4, just remember. And next generation firewall can protect the traffic till layer 7. So that starting layer from layer 3 to layer 7, obviously a legacy firewall is from layer 3 to layer 4. Okay. And next gen firewall, because they can protect the traffic at layer 7, which means they can inspect the application layer data, right? So due to this information, they are having a one feature which is app ID. They also have a one more feature which is URL filtering. They can also protect us from the antivirus. So they also have an antivirus protection, anti-spyware protection, because all these comes under your layer 7. And we also have a like URL filtering. Then we are having file policy. We are having data protection. In data protection, let's suppose we want to protect some kind of confidential data like bank details or credit card details or social security number or a employee salary details, right? All these kind of rules we can write on the firewall. So if someone is trying to forward your data, and if firewall you are having your firewall, then you can protect it easily. Okay, and this particular firewall also have some another functionality like DDoS protection. It also have a protection. It also support have a one more feature which is user ID. We can write the policy on the basis of users, right? And in legacy firewall, if you remember, when we write our rules on the basis of layer 3 information and layer 4 information, which means we are writing rules on the basis of IP addresses and port numbers. But nowadays, if you know torrent, right? Everyone know torrent. Right now, torrent changes his IP address every second. So means IP address is not a static for torrent, and also port number is not a static for torrent. Maybe let's suppose we have a one rule on this firewall. We are allowing all the traffic for T port number 80, which is a TCP 80. Maybe maybe we can run the torrent on port number 80, and we can send that traffic, which means these firewalls don't have that kind of functionality or capability to detect what are the actual data at the application layer. But the thing is, the next generation firewall can able to analyze the traffic at application layer. And if someone trying to access the torrent, at that time, this firewall analyze the data at layer 7 or the data at application layer, and by doing some kind of, like we can say, analysis by inspection. So in app id they will do multiple inspection, like they will match the data for the that app id signatures, then they do the heuristic checks, and they also use the decoders and scanning. They will perform all these checks, and they just try to identify this particular traffic related to which application. Okay, so these kind of capability we will get in with the next generation firewall. Now, I also want to give you one more example. Let's suppose we are having legacy setup. So let me just take a one diagram here for legacy setup. Okay. So in this diagram, if you see, we are having one firewall, which is a legacy firewall. Legacy firewall means old firewall. And right now, legacy firewall, your Cisco ASA, Juniper, like you have heard name from firewall from Dell, firewall from HP, Sonic Wall. All these firewalls comes under your legacy firewall. Okay. Now you are having legacy firewall where you have written your rule on the basis of layer 3 information and layer 4 information. Okay. Now, if you want to protect your servers, your users' data from any kind of antivirus or any kind of vulnerabilities, for that you need a one more solution, which is IPS, right? So what you need to do, you need to put one extra device or extra hardware device, which is a IPS device, right? If you want a protection for URL filtering, in that case, you need one more solution for URL filtering. If you want a user ID protection, then you need one more solution, right? If you need a AMP kind of solution, then you need to, if you want a protection from malwares or you want a security on email, there in that case you need an antivirus kind of solution, right? So if we take an example of Cisco, so let me draw a diagram for Cisco. So like, let's consider this is a Cisco ASA, this is a IPS solution from Cisco, and like this is a WSA solution which provide URL filtering, and this is a AMP solution, Cisco AMP solution, right? So in legacy design, what you have to purchase extra hardware if you want some extra functionalities, right? And in next generation firewall like Palo Alto, what they will do, Palo Alto give you all these functionality inside one box only. All these functionality you will get inside the one box only. So that is also a one more reason everyone uses Palo Alto firewall. Everyone nowadays moving towards the next generation firewall. They are not using legacy networks or legacy firewalls. Okay. Now, one more thing. Let's suppose there is a one user. So let me just clean it up. So let's say there is a one user, right? He wants to access one of the server, right? So when he will send a request to this firewall, so firewall takes some time to process this request. Let's suppose it takes 1 second to process this request, which is initiated by this particular system. Then that request reached to the IPS. IPS also took 1 second. When this request reaches to antivirus or quality of service or proxy or URL filtering, they will also take 1 second, right? Just take an example, right? So now to process this request, basically in this particular scenario, it's take around 5 seconds, right? It's just a like random number. But when you are having Palo Alto firewall, because Palo Alto provides this all these features into one box, and Palo Alto can process that entire flow into 1 second. That's why 1 minute, guys. Let me just clean. 1 second. Let me start the new paint. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Actually, my paint is hanged, so that's why. What I will do, let me stop sharing and I will reshare again. Okay. Okay, so guys, that was the diagram for legacy network. And when we have a Palo Alto, we don't have that kind of issues in the Palo Alto, because we will get all these particular functionality into one box only. Okay. Now, now let's come back to the discussion regarding the architecture of Palo Alto firewall. Okay, so if I talk about the architecture of Palo Alto firewall, Palo Alto generally supports the SP3 kind of architecture. Let me just minimize this one. Okay, so Palo Alto have a SP3 kind of architecture. So generally SP3 stand for like single pass software, and parallel processing hardware. So single pass software means whenever Palo Alto receives a packet, okay, so let's say we are having here Palo Alto firewall. When it receives a packet, it will create a 3 replica of that packet, and it will forward these 3 replica through the different engines. So like it's have a policy engine, it have a like app ID engine, then content ID engine, and user ID engine. And in third engine, it is also having the networking engine. So these all these policy policy checks, app ID, content ID, and user ID and networking, they will happen into one go only. Whenever Palo Alto receives a packet, it will create 3 copies. He will send one replica through the policy engine, one replica through the content engine, and one replica through the networking engine. Okay. And when they basically when and all these three things is happen in a parallel way. All these three things, they are processing into one go, which is parallel way. Okay. So now just take a let me just take a diagram of sp3. Okay, and after that I will basically let me just clear it out. So this is a diagram of sp3 process. Okay, so it's a similar thing which I have designed. So what happens when Palo Alto receives a packet, what it will create a replica of that packet. One replica it will send through the networking engine. One replica it will send through the app ID engine, then user ID, then content ID, and third replica it will send through the policy engine. Means one packet he is receiving and he will create a 3 copies of that packet. And each copy he will send through these engines. Okay. In networking engine, basically, networking engine is responsible for your routing table lookup, your NAT, your forwarding lookup, all these things like ARP, all these processes will performed by the networking engine. Application ID engine is responsible for identifying the application. And if we are having a user-based policy, all the user-related application done by the user ID engine. And content ID is responsible for your antivirus, anti-spyware, vulnerability protection, all these things basically take care by the content ID engine. And we also have policy engine, which is responsible for your signature match. We can say it is also responsible for whatever rules you will write. So on the source IP, destination, all these checks done by the policy engine. So you see all these checks happens into one go only. That is also one more benefit, and that's why Palo Alto architecture is the one of the best architecture. And like no other vendor have that kind of architecture. They don't have that kind of functionality. Okay. And how basically how all these engines can work together, right? There is a something. So they can only able to work together because Palo Alto have a parallel processing hardware, where Palo Alto divided his hardware into two parts: control plane and data plane. Control plane basically responsible for your management activity, which are like configuration of this device, logging related activities, and reporting related activities. All these three activities done by the control plane, or we can say management plane. In data plane, it's another it's have a three division into networking engine, security engine, and content ID engine. And if you see all these engines, they have a dedicated RAM and CPU. They have a dedicated RAM and CPU, so they don't have any kind of dependency on each other for the resource level. That's why they can able to work together, work parallelly way, and without any dependency on each other. That's why they can only able to works in independently. Okay, because they are having dedicated RAM and CPU. Now there is also one more benefit you will get because Palo Alto have segregated his management plane and data plane. So if anyone launch any kind of DDoS attack in your data plane, still your management plane is safe. So you can log in through your management plane and do the activity, whatever you want. Now, this is the one benefit. Another benefit is, let's suppose there is an issue with the control plane process. Let's suppose your commit is not happening. You are having some issue with the configuration part. That time what? You can restart your management plane. You don't need to restart the entire device. You don't need to restart entire system. Only just restart the management plane. That's it. If if your data plane is not functioning well, restart the data plane. You don't need to restart the management plane. That is also one more benefit. And generally, because Palo Alto firewall basically is based on the BSD Linux. What they have taken the BSD Linux, and on top of this BSD Linux, they have just put the Pan OS, or we can say Pan application. So in Linux, in Linux, basically there are some kernel processes, right? These are the kernel process which take care of this Pan OS. So sometime if you are having any issue with these kernel process, that time you can also restart this process, means these daemons. So let's suppose your SSH is not working. You have to restart your SSHD daemon. If your like login is not working, then you have to restart your log receiver daemon. So these kind of things also we can do, and we can troubleshoot. So these are the some kernel level troubleshooting, which I will also show you how we can restart the different process, how we can kill that process if any process is consuming large CPU. All these things we will see. Okay, so this is your parallel processing hardware. So let me just delete this one. Okay, now let me explain the packet flow into Palo Alto firewall. Okay, so we will see the packet flow of Palo Alto firewall. When Palo Alto receives a packet, how it will basically process the packet. So I will draw one small diagram for that. So what I can do, let me just draw one small diagram first. So this is my Palo Alto firewall. I will put two interfaces only for now. In one side, I will put one of the server, and on that server, I will let's say define this IP address 1.1.108. In other side, I will put one system, one PC, and that PC having IP address, let's suppose 10.2.2.100. Okay. Now this PC, let's say this PC wants to send some data towards this server. So what he will just send this request to Palo Alto, and Palo Alto forward this request towards this PC, right? Now when Palo Alto receive this packet into this interface, let's say this is a Ethernet 1/1 and this is Ethernet 1/2. So when Palo Alto receive this packet into this interface, what it will basically put this packet into ingress process. Okay. And in ingress process, basically when he receives this packet, he will put into ingress process. And first what it will do, it will just extract the layer 2 information, layer 3 information, and layer 4 information from the packet. Layer 3 information means it will extract the source MAC address and destination MAC address. Layer 3 information means it will extract the source IP address and destination IP address. Layer 4 information means protocol number. So let's suppose here we have hosted up, this is a web server. So it will get the source port is random and web server port number is 80. It will get that information. So by looking that layer 2, layer 3 and layer 4 information, it will basically get the ingress zone. right? It will get the ingress zone information. After that, in the ingress process only, he will do these extraction of these information. Now, let's suppose this PC sends some kind of fragmented packet. There is a chance, right? So what, when Palo Alto receive these packet, it will collect all the fragments and it will perform the IP reassembly. Okay, he will he will do the IP reassembly on the fragmented packet. In third packet, it will run the CRC check, or it will just check for the header errors, like header is created correctly or not. In layer 2, it will just run the CRC. In TCP header, it will also check the checksum value is matches or not, means header is tempered or not tempered. It will look for that information. After that, in fourth check, it will basically increase the, if everything looks good, if he found the errors on the header, it will discard the packet. Just remember. In sometime in IPA assembly, what happened? Let's suppose your packet is fragmented into 5 fragments, and but only 4 fragments reach it till the firewall, and 1 fragment is dropped somewhere. In that case, he needs to drop that packet as well. So these kind of errors it will check. After that, it will basically increase the interface counter by 1. When he receives a 1 packet, it will increase the counter of an interface. Okay. And after in fifth check, it will just also try to identify if the received packet is a packet related to SSL VPN or a IPsec VPN. It will check that information. Okay. If he is receiving the packet for SSL VPN or IPsec VPN, in that case, he needs to perform the decryption. He will do the decryption, and after decryption, he will get the actual IP header. And that actual IP header, he will again send for the ingress process. And after that, basically forward, now after completing the ingress process, now this Palo Alto firewall send the packet for the firewall inspection. In firewall inspection, basically, if inspection, we are having inspection rules and everything, right? In that case, what, first it will do the lookup. So this is a like, now in firewall inspection, it's have 2 stages. Okay, so let me draw these stages here. So let me just clear out this one little bit, so you will get the proper idea. And let me also decrease the size of my okay. Now, so I will put this one. So this is a second stage. Okay. And let me just draw here firewall inspection. Means inspection is applied for this particular traffic. Now in firewall inspection, first it will do the lookup on connection table. Okay. In connection table, if connection is exist for this particular flow, means if connect in connection table, Palo Alto have information of this particular session, in that case it will process the packet into fast path. If connection information is not there, let's say it's a first packet, means it's a new connection. In that case, firewall send that packet for the slow path, or slow path is also known as a connection setup state. So let's suppose in our case, this is a first packet, right? So in that case, Palo Alto send forward this packet into the connection setup stage, right? In connection setup stage, what? It will first do the lookup on routing table. It will perform the look on routing table and get the exit interface. So in routing lookup, basically we have a 2 conditions. Let's suppose this is, if let's suppose we are using policy based forwarding as well. In that case, first it will do the lookup on your policy based forwarding table. Then it will go for the routing lookup. Okay. So after doing the lookup on routing table, it will get the exit interface. Now in next check, now it will do the lookup on your net table. Means it will do the lookup for net rules. Okay. In net rules, basically we have a two condition. If traffic is related to destination net, in that case, for the destination net traffic, it will send the traffic again for the routing table, because destination will change. In that case, routing also may change, right? So in case of destination net, or we can say DNet, it will send the packet for routing lookup once again. If packet is related to source net, then it will basically just do the lookup on net rules, and it will evaluate the net rule. Evaluate the net rule means it will not change the IP address. It will not change the actual IP address, right? Whatever net rule it will match. It will not do the translation here. It will just do the evaluation here. And after that, it will basically do the lookup on security policies. And in this time, it will do the lookup on security policy, and it will do the lookup on the basis of source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port, and protocol numbers. These are the five things it will use to do the lookup on security rules. So if our security rule is denying the traffic, in that case, it will right away drop the packet. If security rule is allowing the traffic, which means traffic is allowed by the security policy. So what it will do, it will just install the session for this particular traffic into the session table on the basis of source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port, and protocol number. It will install the session. Okay. And when after installation of that session, what now it will start doing the first path for that same flow. So it will do the now in first path, what it will do the net IP header means at that point, basically it will change the net IP, or it will do the net translation. So whatever net rule it have evaluated at that point of time, he will change here. He will change the IP header here. Okay. After that, it will basically check that packet for the SSL decryption. If we are having SSL decryption policy or not. If we are having SSL decryption policy, then it will decrypt the packet and it will send that packet for the app ID. Then app identification happens. In app ID, it will basically check for app override policies. Then it will also check for the like custom app. All these things it will happen, and they will just try to identify the application. After app ID, basically packet sent for the content ID inspection. In content ID inspection, basically your URL filtering, your antivirus, anti-spyware vulnerabilities, your file policies, data protection, all these things apply into the content ID. Palo Alto 5 mesh these particular packets through different decoders, different databases, and it will just try to check the packet against the viruses, malwares. Okay. And if like verdict of these content ID is like if traffic is a malicious, then Palo Alto drop the packet at that point of time only. Otherwise, Palo Alto after the content inspection, Palo Alto forward this packet for the egress process. So this is the last process of your packet flow. In egress process, basically what they will do, they will do the L3 lookup. In L3 lookup, they need to perform the ARP, right? This file needs to perform the ARP for this particular server, right? They do the ARP. If we have configured quality of service, then quality of service basically will be applied at this point of time. If this traffic is related to VPN, then decryption needs to be performed, right? So that thing also done into the egress process at layer 3 lookup. After they will do the lookup at L2, where they will create a frame on the basis of MAC address, layer 2 frame. And after that, they will forward that packet to the exit interface. So this is the guys Palo Alto packet flow of Palo Alto, or we can say life of a packet inside the Palo Alto hardware. So these are the different checks Palo Alto perform into the against the packet when he received. Okay. So what I can do, let me just show you one more small diagram for packet flow of Palo Alto. Okay. So let me just get that diagram from Google. So this is the diagram of packet Palo Alto packet flow. And if you see, this is the same information which I have explained. Okay. Like this is a firewall session setup state or slow path, then it's a fast path, then in application identification they will do all these checks. So that thing we will also see while I will explain you the detailed one in when I will explain the packet capture command and the troubleshooting part. That time I will also show you all these things, because there in sets and setup store there's also few more checks also happens for like spoofing attacks, how it will basically protect us from the DDoS attack, and how it will protect us from the TCP SYN attack, ICMP flood attacks, UDP flood attacks. All these things I will explain you during that time when we will learn the troubleshooting of Palo Alto Fire. In app ID also they will do multiple things. How app ID works, all these things we will see, like how application ship works, all these things we will see. Okay. Then we will see the content inspection, and after that basically it will forward that packet for forwarding state or egress process, where they will do multiple activity. So it's the same information. So this is, guys, this is the demo of Palo Alto. Now I am just muting everyone. If you guys have any questions, please ask. Just unmute, guys, and ask. Okay.
Hi team, you can unmute now and you can ask questions. Sorry for delay. There were some issues. You can
Yeah,
ask now.
hi. What was your good name? Who was giving the session? I just
It
forgot.
was Hema sir.
Hema. Is that right? Yeah, Hema. This side, Naman. I'm him. Okay. Hemu, this side, Naman. I'm from Delhi. So I have a small question. The topics that you will cover in this classes for Palo Alto, you will giving the lab for all the classes, or some topics for the lab and some are on for theory based. Hello.
Yeah,
Naman, your
sorry,
voice
sorry,
is not
sorry.
clear.
Yeah, so sorry guys, I was on mute. So the thing is, yeah, I will show you all the practicals, whatever I have mentioned into the course content. So don't worry about that.
So
On which
you
Palo Alto
will
like version? On which Palo Alto version? Like which Palo Alto? Is it
So
Palo Alto 7, 8, 9, or
I
which?
will use Palo Alto 9.0.1.
Okay. So you will provide us the image
PanOS
to work on
9.0.1.
it, right?
And the latest one is a 10.x, but it's have lots of bugs, and also there is no much difference between 9 and 10. So I will prefer 9, and we will
So
see
I'm
all
saying
the
that
labs on that.
you will provide the image, right, for all of us to work on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll provide all the images. Whatever software you needed, I will provide all the software. So don't worry.
So
Like all
how,
the software, like
so can you get notes for that every
yeah, go on.
documents?
yeah, same
We
question for
will
me.
also share you the slides.
Okay.
Okay, slides for every class?
Yeah, for every class. Yeah.
For
In
working like
last class,
Naman, can
We
you
have
call me,
created few
please?
slides, so
Naman,
that slide
please.
we will share.
I think
But
you have a
most
lot of
of the
questions.
classes, I will prefer by taking the guys one by one. If you guys ask one by one, that will be great.
so how to we are practice like in all laptop? Yeah, it is only lab is available, lab setup is available.
No, you guys have to practice in your system. I will help you with the lab setup, and whatever topology I will create into my system, I will share that same topology with you guys, so you can just import it into EVNG and start working on the lab part.
Then which software you are using?
EVNG,
Sounds good.
it's a EVNG. I
Okay.
will also show you how we can set up this EVNG environment in your system, so don't worry. The basic requirement for this EVNG, it's required a 12 GB of RAM, and if you are having i5, that will be great. That's the processor